the world desperately in need of another hotel chain? We could not survive without another five-star hotel? This is what the wealth of the people of Abu Dhabi needs to be invested in? The world needs a soccer tournament. In fact, if we didn't invest in this soccer tournament, clearly the Italians, the French, the Germans, the Brazilians, they must not like soccer. They must not want this. What is the unique value of our prosperity? Here in Toronto, I've used this example many, many times. You have 100,000 Muslim families, minimum average savings of $10,000, which is a gross under-exaggeration because I know many Muslims who are sitting on millions of dollars. Doctors, engineers, lawyers, real estate developers, accountants. But let's say even it was 100,000 families with an average of $10,000. Here in Toronto, $1 billion. Here in Toronto, minimum among Muslim people. Toronto only. I haven't gone to Abu Dhabi. I haven't gone to Qatar. I'm not railing against the Saudis. Here, Toronto, $1 billion. No Baitul Mal for people to work together. People across the street living on welfare. Living in places that are, maybe 15 rooms in the size of this masjid. Is it that we don't have the money to train people in English or computers or welding or being a cook or whatever other skills that are needed in the economy, which are endless? No. Do we not have people that are willing? No, we blame the poor. They immigrated here without education. And so whose fault is that now? Now that they're beside us and they pray beside us and we walk past their houses every day or drive past, probably quickly. When bad things come to us, they come to us, we say, from God. And when good things come to us, they must be things that we earn. This is the trial of prosperity. This is why people stay where they are. We as a society, Surah Az-Zumar tells us, one day in crowds, Zumar means crowds, people will go as crowds to their destination. You know why? They will go as crowds to their destination because all of them close their eyes to what was directly in front of them. Not one person who says, poor people, forget about them. People are starving, don't worry about it. It's not one person that says this, and that's why it happens. It's almost everybody who says this. That's why it happens. You think there are no rich people in Pakistan? There are 5 families in Pakistan who have more money than real money than Bill Gates. Believe me. You think there are no wealthy people in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, in Libya? You think there are no wealthy people in Iraq? And all of these countries, you have poor people everywhere, all around in the streets. You think those people are all foolish, that they deserved it? What about Africa? You know how many diamonds are in the ground in Africa? How much coal is in the ground? How much oil is in the ground? Do you think that only Alberta has these things? What happens? You think it's one person in Africa that says, I don't like poor people, so let these people starve? No. It's wealthy people, educated people, doctors, lawyers, accountants. All of this money and wealth and education, and no eyes to see what is in front of them. You can take a parrot to school. You can take a dog. You can teach a dog to do a lot of things too with education. The dog, if you see these dogs, they're remarkable, mashallah. If you see them on the TTC and the other areas, a blind person. The dog looks both ways. The dog can stop when a car is coming. The dog is so educated. He's in some cases has more sensitivity than our Prime Minister to the awareness of people. He will avoid other people. He walk in a straight line. He cautions the other person. And when the blind person is a little lonely, he comes in close beside them. SubhanAllah. Even a dog can be given empathy, education, understanding. God forbid that this dog has more empathy, education, understanding than we do. Because when we see a poor person, we walk way far away. The dog might even come and try to give him some warmth or a hug or something. But we go far, far away. I don't want to see that. Must be his fault. We're so smart and intelligent. And one day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may call this dog as a witness. to say, I gave this dog to a blind person. The blind one couldn't see, but the dog could see that you had shunned this person on the street. And who would have the greater education then? This is the problem that we have as an ummah. This is the problem we have as humanity, Muslim or non-Muslim. I'm not saying Muslims alone have this problem. The West has this problem times 10. The West will spend more money on a Britney Spears concert in Los Angeles to clear the poor people away from the stadium when they could take the same money and make sure none of them had to live outside a stadium. They'll spend $2 billion on the Los Angeles Dodgers baseball team because of the value of the parking lot, and there are $2 billion to clean up LA from drug gangs and people that are miserable and unhappy. They'll give millions of dollars to a wonderful athlete named Junior Seau, and nobody will check the minute he stops entertaining people to see what's wrong with this guy. Maybe he's sad. And so a guy with 3 kids kills himself at the prime of his athletic life, with his whole life ahead of him and millions of dollars. Because as soon as he's done being a circus act for people, obviously nobody cares about whether this man is happy or sad or has any suffering or what his problems are. Forget about him. So I'm not saying that Muslims are alone in this, nor is Surah Az-Zaman. We are all, as people, there's a phrase in law, willful blindness. It's not that you're actually blind. It's that you force your eyes shut to what is directly in front of you. This is the trial of prosperity, my brothers and sisters and respected elders of Islam. And I am as guilty as the rest of you. The solution to the trial of prosperity is to open our eyes and to fear and love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if we really fear and love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask ourselves questions every night. Number one, what have I done to make sure that I myself am no longer in a position of weakness? You know, there's a joke I learned in Africa. An African man told me this one time. He says, brother, you do well in school. I said, thank you, uncle. He says, you know the best way to help the poor? I said, no, uncle. He says, don't become one of them. And he said this very serious. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to laugh. It was kind of funny, but it was very true. You can't help people unless you yourself are in some kind of condition in life. So very quickly get to a point where your money is not wasted, where if you're in a job, maybe you go towards investing it and own some kind of a business, where you have some control of your life in your own hands. Get there as quickly as possible. If you can get there by 20, great. If you get there by 22, great. If you get there 40, get there by 42. But your niyyah should be very quickly. Stop depending on other people. Very quickly get to a point where you can take care of yourself. And then the next thing is, for the rest of your life, do whatever you can to make sure that other people can rely on you. That is the solution to the trial of prosperity. If we taught our children that, as much as we taught them how important it is to be a doctor or a lawyer or to be a professional or to have a nice house, if we drilled into them that they are failures, if the weakest person in society is a failure, if they drive by a house that a Muslim lives in and that house is a disaster, it is the same thing as if you lived in that house. Because it reflects on you in the eyes of God the same way. If we drill that into our children from age 5, believe me, by age 25, you would not have the condition in the Sunnah that you have right now, in Canada or anywhere else. There would be an endless, burning, raging anger in every Muslim the minute they hear about even one Muslim that has a problem. But that's not the Islam that we teach. That's not the Islam that we teach. We teach an Islam that is self-congratulatory. Okay, if you know how to pray and nobody else does, you're a good Muslim. No, you're not. If you pray and the person beside you has no knowledge of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, guess what? You failed. If you have money and people around you don't, I'm not saying you have to give them all of your money, but you have to at least care enough to understand what is going on with these people. What can you do to help? Maybe it's not money. Maybe, in fact, in most cases, maybe it's time. Maybe it's moral support. Maybe it's encouragement. Maybe it's being there to help the fellow with homework if he needs to know how to read. Maybe it's making a phone call to let him understand who is out there that's working. Maybe it's helping him understand the differences between various jobs, so he goes into one that is relevant to him, that he has more chance of succeeding. Those things are often worth far more than just money. It's letting a brother know that he's not alone like an orphan in this world. Brother may come from Somalia, he may come from Egypt, he may come from Canada, from Pakistan, any place. This is a different country to him. But if he sees you in the mosque and he sees, wow, you know what? I have somebody I can turn to for understanding, who can show me the way this country works. And I will do the work, don't get me wrong. If you are poor, or you are uneducated, or you lack skills, it's on you to make the most of your life. But if you have that kind of community, or sense of teamwork, or sense of personal, someone you can turn out to and help, this is the beginning of your belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you and helping you through His ummah. Don't believe that the problems that we have cannot be solved, and don't believe that if you're not part of the solution, as they say, you and I, we are part of the problem. This is what Surah Al-Zumar and this verse is teaching us. If you pray to God for help when things are bad, pray to God for even more help when things are good in your life. Because the trial of prosperity is far greater for most of us, that trial is far greater than the trial of hardship. Most of us spend far more days in prosperity than we do in hardship. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us about both. May God guide us all. Amen. My brothers, sisters, elders in Islam, you must understand something. The Ummah and life doesn't just happen. Things happen because of things that people do, because of decisions they make every day. The world isn't the way that it is by some gigantic accident. Buildings exist because people built them. Rent is paid because people decided to do it. If a man driving a bus decides to drive it off a cliff, the bus will go off and everybody will die with him. If a person who is a doctor puts the wrong drug into somebody's body, that person will suffer. Things happen because of actions that you and I take, because of plans that you and I make. The condition of this world is a direct result of the behavior of the people in it. This is the central message of Islam. Islam did not spread from the middle of Arabia by some geographic accident, like a gigantic wind came and the sand hit people in the face and it had the Kalba and the Quran in it. This is not how Islam spread. Islam spread because people took it to other people, in countries they didn't know, in places they hadn't seen, because they believed it was their mission, that the whole world was their responsibility, not just the area where they themselves were. Very quickly, they figured out their own problems in life, the solutions to them, as quickly as possible, and most of their life they devoted to making sure that other people could be set free by the message of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. This does not require men to be supermen. It does not require men to be angels, but it requires men to be endowed with understanding, with humility, with love, and with respect for God. If we really have those things, if we change our scorecard from I am not successful till everybody has at least some basic level of success, you will accumulate more wealth in your own life because you won't waste time. You will accumulate more wealth for your community because you actually care to do so. And you will find the people that will set us free. Together, moving together as one ummah, united by God. My brothers, there's a brother within the community whose close relative has died in India. Please remember him in your du'as. We thank Allah for guiding us. We ask Allah